Hi, I'm Woody Hingle, pastor of Lighthouse of Christ Church in New Orleans, Louisiana. You know, a lot of people have asked me, Woody, why is it that Lighthouse of Christ Church left the United Methodist Church? And that's a good question, and it takes some unpacking. I think there are basically two reasons. We were, for several years since 1949, Lake Vista United Methodist Church. And then in 2022, we disaffiliated from the United Methodist Church and became an independent church, Lighthouse of Christ Church. And I am ordained in the Global Methodist Church. There are basically two reasons why we left. First of all, there is the more formal reason, and that we'd worked for, and many other clergy and laity did, for renewal within the United Methodist Church. We felt like that could be done. We could affirm our doctrinal standards and hold people accountable to them. The theological plurality would not go outside of those doctrinal standards, and we worked toward that. But we found it getting harder and harder over time. And then, of course, there came the second cause, the material cause. And what caused that was that there was a woman who was became a bishop in the United Methodist Church who was married to another woman. And within our book of discipline, the rule book for the United Methodist Church, that person should not have been ordained, but also should not have even become a bishop. And when that happened, many of us realized that the covenant relationship was really broken within the United Methodist Church. In other words, we could not work within our book of discipline in Scripture to bring renewal within the denomination. And so there began efforts to have a friendly separation, and where the individual churches could keep their property and be able to go on where God was leading them. And so that, in essence, is where we are. We feel like as we are growing as Lighthouse of Christ Church, that what we want to be is a church that is following the Jesus way. And that means that we're following His love and His grace and also His holiness and righteousness. It reminds me of what Jesus says in Matthew chapter 7. And there He said, "Enter through the narrow gate, for the gate is wide and the road is easy that leads to destruction. And there are many who take it. For the gate is narrow and the road is hard that leads to life. And there are many who find it." Jesus tells His followers that we are to follow His way, which involves dying to ourselves and living to Him. And ironically, it's when we die to ourselves that we know what true life is. It is a narrow way. It's different from our wider culture, and yet it's the best. And that's what Jesus calls us to. So I invite you, if you're looking for a church home, we'd be honored to have you come and worship with us at Lighthouse of Christ Church.